Well, shall we call our meeting to order? Are we ready to go?
Is Dawn here?
Let's see. Do we have Sarah or Dara helping with the callers today?
It looks like we're still waiting for Dawn.
Oh, we are waiting for Dawn. Okay. Any word from Dawn yet?
Not yet.
And through the chair, we do have a quorum. So depending upon your preference, we could get started. And if Dawn joins us, I'll make note that he is here.
Okay.
That could be one way to do it. Or if you want to give a little bit more time, it's up to you.
Well, let's see. Give it just a few more seconds.
Lisa, there is an unknown number that I don't recognize, but it might be Dawn calling in from a different cell phone number. Would you like me to check?
Sure, you can check and we can see who that is. And if it's not Dawn, then they can just be put back in on hold for public comment.
It looks like Dawn just logged on.
Oh, great. That's all that.
Hello, Dawn.
Bradley here.
Hello, Commissioner Bradley. Welcome.
Thank you.
We'll get started. So good evening, everyone. And I'll bring the meeting of December 20th of the San Carlos Planning Commission to order. And as always, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Apologize for that. Commissioner Garvey.
Present.
Commissioner Iacopone.
Here.
Commissioner Bradley.
Present.
And for the record, Vice Chair Clements is absent this evening. Chair Roof.
Present. The next item on our agenda is public comment. And public comment is limited to items not on the agenda. The Commission may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed as allowed by the Brown Act, Government Code Section 54954.2. However, the Commission's general policy is to refer items to staff for attention or have the matter placed on a future Commission agenda for a more comprehensive action or report. So you can join the meeting via Zoom or via phone. And Sarah, do we have anyone in the waiting room for this public comment period? You can click raise hand at the bottom of your screen if you're on Zoom, or if you're joining by phone, press *9, then *6 to unmute.
Yes, I see David has a raised hand. I'm going to go ahead and ask to unmute.
Okay. Welcome, David.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Great. Hey. All right. Hey, my name is David Tusman. Hi to the commissioners and planning developer Al-Sabeh. I'm calling here to tell you about a really amazing event that I went to a few weeks ago over Thanksgiving weekend. It was a live music event put on by some high school and college age folks in town. It was fully conceived and organized and run by them. It was a live music event in a backyard. I biked down there with my wife, Karen, and we just basked in the music and positive creative energy that this young community had built from the ground up. And especially in this time of COVID and social distancing, we know has affected school-age kids the most. And led by 20-year-old Daniel Villasenor, this substance-free show, all ages, inclusive, in his parents' backyard, it was just brimming with joy and catharsis of the ability to gather with friends in a safe space. And Karen and I immediately recognized that this unique project is something we want to personally uplift and support any way we can. And we think it's something San Carlos can really be proud of, that this homegrown music community, something unique throughout the peninsula, is really thriving here. And I learned recently that they've been having issues with permitting, I guess since it's a residential zone and some technicalities there. And I'm happy to hear that the city and Mr. Sabeh will be working with Daniel to figure out how to get that permit worked out and what sort of parameters of their event would be useful to help it operate better and within the bounds of the city. So thank you, and I hope to hear more about that event, and I hope folks on the commission might even attend those events because they are absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I gather that item has been referred to staff already, so we'll keep our fingers crossed that a good solution comes up with. Good luck. Sarah, is there anyone else in the waiting room for the public comment period?
Yes, Daniel has his hand raised. I'm going to go ahead and ask to unmute.
Okay, welcome, Daniel. We have.
What's up?
Hi, you have 2 minutes. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Daniel. I live in San Carlos my whole life, and I'm the one who's been throwing concerts in the backyard. I started throwing concerts after going to college in Pomona, and they have an amazing music scene. And because I have the skills, space, and networks to throw concerts, I knew I got to do something here in San Carlos too. I've seen firsthand how my concerts have positively impacted all the kids that come to it. There's really not a music scene here in Silicon Valley, which is kind of a bummer. For all I know, I'm one of the only safe spaces here where kids can show off their art and perform to like-minded individuals. And the people who perform at these concerts, they're so good. They dedicate so much of their time to their craft. And to me, it feels like an obligation to throw these concerts because I really, really want to see my friends' music heard by people all over, perform all over the country. And it's been really cool seeing how there's been friendships, relationships, music that all started at the first domino, which has been my concert. Just recently, I got hit with a cease and desist letter from the city attorney stating that I'm breaking municipal code 1823-240. In this violation, it pretty much states how I need to get a permit to throw these events, but the permits cost $2,500, which is a little too much. And I'd really like to work with the city to find a compromise so I can continue throwing concerts in my backyard. My shows are all ages, drug-free, and my parents are always around and other adults are in attendance. And I believe y'all in this situation isn't the bad guy. Rather, it's just a couple of neighbors who are very disgruntled. And I really believe I'm providing a lot of good for a lot of people with the music scene here in San Carlos. And just this past year, I was able to help San Carlos get a huge mural at the Crepe Stop. And I think the positive impact that has had on the city is crazy. And a strong, drug-free, all-ages youth music scene is something that I think our city could really be proud of, and it could really, really help a lot of the kids coming out of COVID finally get a time to socialize and meet with new people. I really hope you guys work with me in finding a way that we can compromise to continue having these concerts. And I'd like to invite you all to my next concert coming up on January 6th in Palo Alto. It's going to be a really great time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah, do we have anyone else in the waiting room?
Yes, it looks like Leah Dunn would like to speak.
Hello,
Hi.
Leah. Hi.
Hi, I'm Leah.
Please, welcome.
Okay, yeah, so I was a performer at the Thanksgiving concert that Daniel threw, and it was an absolutely wonderful experience. I also wanted to point out that it was a totally sober environment, so there was no drugs or alcohol on the premises. So that was also a really positive part of the experience. Also, when I was younger and I was trying to become a better songwriter, I would have to haul all the way up to San Francisco just to go to open mics. And it would have been really great if there was something like the scene that Daniel has created now when I was younger. And so I think it's important to continue fostering an artistic community that's homegrown here in San Carlos so that people on the peninsula don't feel like they have to go all the way up to San Francisco when, you know, not everyone has a car to get to the city, not everyone has the kind of gas money, not everyone has, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours to get all the way up there. So yeah, I think it's really important that we at least find an affordable solution to this permit situation. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your comment. Sarah, do we have anyone else in the waiting room?
I see Kayla Jackson. Gonna go ahead and ask you to unmute.
Kayla, we don't hear you yet. You need to unmute.
Oh, got you.
Oh, gotcha. So, welcome, and take a comment, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate the points that were just made and just say that I really support the music scene that Daniel has provided for all these artists. I met him in the summer and I've been to a couple of his concerts, and it's just been a really great way to create a cultural hub where we can create solidarity within the community. I met so many really cool people there and heard a lot of artists expressing their voice, and it's just been a really lovely and wonderful thing, and I'm really grateful for the space that he provides. So.
Okay, thank you for your comment, Kayla. Sarah, do we have anyone else in the waiting room?
There's no one else in the waiting room.
Okay. Well, so for the record, this issue has been referred to the staff, Lisa, and it's being dealt with. Is that the follow-up that's in progress?
I haven't spoken to Al Savay, but I think Andrea Martisich, who's on the call, may have some information regarding that. Do you have any info, Andrea?
I do. Thank you. So through the chair, I have spoken with Al Savay, our Community Development Director, and we are in the process of gathering all of the information needed to submit for review, as well as looking through the code to make sure that we're finding all applicable code sections that could apply. So my guess is that I would be reaching out to Daniel probably tomorrow. I'm actually in the process this evening of finalizing some research that I'm going to send over. So it has been referred to staff, and we are going to be reaching out to Daniel and working with him in the next few weeks, I'm sure.
Okay, good to hear that the staff is on it. Sarah, unless somebody else has joined the waiting room, then maybe we can close. We can close the public comment period and move to the approval of the minutes.
No changes from me, Chair.
Okay. Any changes from other commissioners? I see Commissioner Iacoponi.
Thank you, Chair Roof. One small edit, please. Packet page 5. I made a comment and it was stated as a statement rather than a question. And it's in the middle. It reads, Sarah Cadona said that in this, the sentence above, Commissioner Iacoponi asked if there was no balcony or mid-landing and only an area to enter and exit the unit, would it be approved? Not it would be approved. So just same words, just if you could rephrase it as the question intended, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments from commissioners? I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes with the correction mentioned by Commissioner Iacoponi.
I'll move that we accept the minutes, except for that.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. A roll call, please.
Commissioner Garvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Iacoponi?
Yes.
Commissioner Bradley?
Yes.
And Chair Roof?
Yes. The next item on our agenda is the public hearing, and the staff will present a report on the history, physical features on the application, followed with the staff's recommendations. The applicant will make a presentation. Thereafter, interested members of the community may speak on the proposal. When all interested parties have had an opportunity to be heard, the hearing will be closed and no further discussion from the floor can be held. The commission will then consider the evidence and make its recommendation. If you challenge a public hearing item in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing described in this notice. The public notice or in written correspondence delivered to the city at or prior to the public hearing. Speakers should state their name prior to addressing the commission. This will assist staff in preparing the minutes. And the first item is 104 Sunnydale Avenue, APN 051-401-010, app 2021-00007, appeal of director approval of the location of the external stairs that provide ingress and egress to a proposed second-story accessory dwelling unit. And this item is continued from the December 6th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. Staff, you have a report?
Yes, I do. Good evening, commissioners and Chair Roof. My name is Sarah Cadona, Contract Assistant Planner with the City of San Carlos. The item before you is a request for an appeal of the director's decision to approve the location of an external staircase accessing a second-story ADU over an attached garage at 104 Sunnydale Avenue. This item was continued from the December 6th Planning Commission meeting to today, December 20th, to discuss an alternative location for the stairs. To refresh your memory, the approved plans are for a first-story addition and a second-story ADU over an attached garage. The proposed two-bedroom ADU will be about 790 square feet. The previous approved staircase location was located towards the rear/interior side property line. During the December 6th Planning Commission meeting, the item was continued to give the applicant team, building, and planning a chance to sit down and find a staircase location that addresses the neighbors' concerns and meets building and planning code requirements. On December 9th, a meeting was held with the applicant team, building, and planning to review alternative stair locations. The highlighted image on this slide is the proposal for the new alternative stair location, which consists of moving the staircase closer to the Sunnydale street frontage, having the staircase as one continuous runway with a mid-stair landing and a direct access walkway, which still meets ingress and egress standards. Here are the elevations for the newly proposed alternative stair location. The applicant, as well as city staff, has been in contact with the neighbors who expressed privacy concerns at the previous Planning Commission meeting. Both neighbors at 1730 Elm Street and 108 Sunnydale Avenue are satisfied with the new staircase location, and those written comments can be found starting on packet page 69. The applicant also sent a signed letter to city staff after the packets were already published, which was sent to the commissioners this morning. This letter provides a statement that the appellant is satisfied with the alternative stair location. They also expressed other concerns beyond the location of the ADU stairs. These other concerns are beyond the scope of the appeal, and staff will verify anything on site and make sure it is compliant with our code requirements. Here's the motion if you choose to accept it. Staff, as well as the appellant and the applicant, are present to answer any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do the planning commissioners have any questions before we open for, well, let me clarify, is the appellant, would they like to make a presentation, or are they just available for questions?
Samaya, if you would like to speak, you can raise your hand.
Well, let's entertain any questions from the planning commissioners before we, and then if the appellant joins. Oh, here we go.
Hello. Yes.
Hello,
Hi,
welcome, Samaya.
Planning Commissioner. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to thank Planning Department and our neighbor for relocating the stair. And I just wanted to bring it up that my other concerns stated in the letter were part of the appeal, and as our neighbor is fully informed. So it was the most important portion of the appeal that was considered as not appealable by the city attorney. So I just wanted to point it out that these two other concerns were part of the appeal, and it was found that it's not appealable. So I just wanted to point this out. And also I just wanted to say that I'm truly grateful for all the hard work that our neighbor just put together the new revised plan. And I also appreciate the time that the planning department just put reviewing the appeal and the revised plan. And I would truly appreciate if our neighbor would consider the other two statements. I mean, one of them is just revising the plan for the correct location of the existing fireplace, which is shown now outside of the setback, but that's not correct. It is fully inside the setback and 2.5 feet away from the wood fence, as I stated. And also, as I just pointed out to Andrea and Sarah, we have the word in the code, maximize the neighbor's privacy. And I understand that the window meets the minimum code, but having the obscured window, which is sliding, I don't see how the obscured window, when it's open fully toward the backyard, would maximize the privacy. So I just wanted to point out this privacy concern when the window sliding is open, looking down the backyard. And I just wanted to say that in the last meeting, I I was told that somehow I'm anti-renters, but I'm not. I'm right now joining the meeting from another part of the world, from my parents' home, but I'm still missing my home in San Carlos. So it's a very, very difficult and confusing feeling that I'm sitting here and my parents are sleeping in the other room and they cannot come and visit my home. And I love seeing my neighbors' parents living in that ADU because that's what I dream for myself. So I'm not anti-renters, and I totally support ADU because that's what I would do for my own parents to come visit me. But the privacy concern, as it comes to the code as well, and it's been appreciated by the municipal code, it's not against renter. It's just a simple right of the neighbors to be preserved. That's it. Thank you so much for hearing me.
Okay, well, thank you. So let's see, we can see if there are any commissioner questions before we open this item for public comment. Any clarifying questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to open for public comment.
I'll move, we open.
Lisa, you're on mute.
So I have a motion, a second.
Through the chair, you don't need to have a motion
to
open it. It's really to just close it because
okay.
The next.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we don't need to bother with that. So if you would like to make a public comment on agenda item 6A, 104 Sunnydale Avenue, now is the time to speak. And you may join the Zoom meeting or call the phone number and use the raise hand icon or press *9 to speak. And Sarah, is there anyone lined up to speak?
There is no one currently waiting to speak.
Okay, well now I guess I do need to solicit a motion to close the public comment period.
I will move that we close the public comment period.
And a second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second to roll call, please.
Commissioner Garvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Iacopone?
Yes.
Commissioner Bradley?
Yes.
And Chair Roof?
Yes. Well, now we have an opportunity for Planning Commission discussion. Are there comments? I see Commissioner Garvey, you raised your hand.
Thank you, Chair Roof. One of the concerns, or the main concern that I had with this the last time, which was how does the stair affect the location of the utilities, and what is the length of the process that the applicant would need to go through with PG&E to relocate the utilities, has been very nicely addressed with this new staircase. The stairs are further to Sunnydale. They are further away from the neighbors that were concerned, and the utilities can remain in place. The other thing that I liked about this nice solution is the landing in the stairs, so that it kind of breaks it up a little bit. It's not just one long run. And so I really liked the new staircase, and I'll be supportive of the project. I also liked that staff said in their presentation that they would be making sure that all the city codes are met with the other issues that the appellant raised. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I agree with Commissioner Garvey. Appreciate the work our staff and the owners and neighbors have put in on this. Seems like a small, trivial aspect, but it's important and it's worked out well, I think, in the end.
Thank you.
maybe I just put in the thought that it's not always that we come up with a question amongst neighbors that is resolved to general or mostly everyone satisfied. So it's good to see it, and just appreciate the architect, the applicant, the appellant, and the next door neighbor for working together for a good outcome.
Thank you. And I'll echo all those comments from my fellow commissioners. It is nice to see that the process works, and a good resolution has been arrived at. So I would entertain a motion as shown on the screen here.
I would be happy to motion. So let me just make sure I have the format right, but I motion that the Planning Commission uphold the appeal of Samaya Mirosani on the condition that the external stairs are located as shown on the plans that are date stamped December 9, 2021, which allows for ingress and egress to access the second story ADU located at 104 Sunnydale Avenue, APN 051401010. Is that all right?
And let me just make sure. Before we get a second, do I have a comment from Commissioner Garvey?
Well, I just wanted to make sure that from Lisa that December 9th is in fact the date that the new plans with the new staircase are dated.
Correct. That should be in your packet. And if Sarah, if you want to mention what page that's on for the record so that the commission can indeed verify that, please go ahead and let us know what page we might see that date stamp on the plans, if you have that.
Yes. So it should be attachment number 5,
okay,
which is one second. Which should start on packet page 57.
Okay. As long as it says December 9th, I'm very happy with that, and I will second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. A roll call, please.
Commissioner Garvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Iacopone?
Yes.
Commissioner Bradley?
Yes.
And Chair Roof?
Yes. The next item in our public hearing is 1129 Old County Road, APN 046-171-150, PLN 2021-00097. Request for an amendment to the Planning Development PD Zoning District Ordinance 1363. Does staff have a presentation here?
We do, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Andrea Martisich, Principal Planner. I will be presenting this item tonight on behalf of Krista Kumos, who's one of our consulting senior planners. And Chair Roof, as you mentioned, the item before you this evening is a request for an amendment to a Plan Development Zoning District, which is PD 20. This evening, we are asking you to consider the item and recommending that you recommend this ordinance to the City Council for consideration. The subject site is located in the Home Depot Lucky Shopping Center on Old County Road. It's in the middle of the block between Britton Avenue and Howard Avenue. And the surrounding area is primarily consisting of regional retail, which are buildings above 25,000 square feet. And then there's also a smaller building right across the driveway, which is currently occupied by the dollar store. The site that's under review this evening is the vacant building on an approximately 0.62 acre site. It's an existing 5,300 square foot building, and previous uses at the site have included both pet related retail and services. And I believe the most recent use was the dog pool business. The site is located within the PD20 zoning district, so that covers the entire site from bound by Britton Avenue and Howard, as well as Old County Road, and is a general commercial industrial general plan land use designation. I do want to point out that although this is part of a larger PD, the recommendation and proposal this evening applies only to this one building and would not affect Home Depot, Lucky, or the dollar store building, and would just modify the ordinance for this particular building and site. Thank you. So as I mentioned, this is a request to amend the Plan Development Zoning District, and there's really two basic requests. The first is to remove a current restriction that requires this building to remain one tenant space. So the applicant is requesting to remove that restriction to allow for more than one tenant in the future. And then the second request is also to allow for additional commercial uses. And I will go through each of those on the next few slides. But before I do that, I just wanted to provide next slide, a brief background of the site. I did include in the staff report an approval history of the subject site. As you probably have seen, it's very complicated. There's been a lot of ordinances modifying the site itself. So I'm just going to focus on this particular portion of the overall larger site. So Ordinance 1363, which was adopted in 2005, provided for a plan of development of one new retail building at this site. There was also the requirement for a use permit at the same time, which also outlined some of the architectural features of the new building and outlined some additional requirements for the tenant at the time, which was a Pet Food Express. The site was restricted to the one tenant to limit negative impacts to downtown businesses. At the time, and currently, pet-related retail and services were the only allowed use. And at the time, this was approved because there was not a large pet retail store that served residents of San Carlos. And it was considered as a use that would not necessarily conflict with the downtown core itself. Since this time, which was early 2000s and even prior to that, but this most recent ordinance was 2005, there's been a lot of changes in San Carlos, including the addition of many residential units, a lot of approval of commercial spaces, you're aware. And these developments, in addition to other decisions that the city council's made to help grow the economy, have contributed to a really revitalized downtown in San Carlos that's become a destination in and of itself. So the concern that was present back in the early 2000s about this competition with the downtown is really not as much of a concern as it once was. And so for that reason, staff is supportive of the proposals this evening in terms of removing the single tenant requirement as well as adding some additional uses. Next slide, please. In speaking with the applicant, who represents the property owners for the site, the applicant's trying to attract a more diverse set of potential tenants by dividing the existing space. In speaking with the applicant, they've indicated that they have experienced quite a bit of difficulty in finding possible lessees because of the limited permitted uses, which again are pet related, and the size of the commercial space. So they believe by removing this prohibition as well as adding additional uses, they would be able to attract a wider range of tenants for the space. Now, regardless of this, there is no proposal to expand the overall footprint of the building. So exterior changes in the future could include signage or possibly additional, entrances to get in. But beyond that, there's no proposed changes to the exterior or the footprint size of the building. In terms of the proposed uses, they generally speaking, follow the GCI zoning, our general commercial industrial zoning, with some exceptions. So I am going to go through an overview, just some of the uses that are proposed to be included. Those include banks and financial institutions, small scale commercial entertainment and recreation, eating and drinking establishments. So that could be like a convenience type place or a restaurant, as well as retail sales. Next slide. Minor uses that are proposed would be instructional uses or public safety facilities. Again, this is following the GCI zoning district. And then in terms of conditional uses following the GCI would be colleges and trade schools and government offices. One noticeable difference from the GCI zoning is the use of office use. So the applicant is requesting that offices be included in this ordinance as a conditional use, meaning that were any office to come forward or be proposed, it would have to go to Planning Commission for a use permit. And this is something that staff does not support. The preference in this area is to have tenants that generate sales tax revenue and contribute to retail and service, the retail and service oriented nature of the surrounding shopping center. The applicant is aware that staff is not supporting this. However, they are asking the PC to consider the option, which is in the purview of the Planning Commission. And I believe the applicant, Chris, will be speaking about this a little bit more after my presentation to provide some additional information on their perspective and office uses in this location. Next slide. The notice was mailed out to a 300-foot radius, as well as published in the newspaper on December 9th, and we have not received any comments on this project. Staff does believe that the proposal meets the findings as outlined in the staff report, and this next slide is the motion. Should you choose to recommend this ordinance to council. In terms of next steps, if you do recommend approval, then this item would then go to City Council for consideration and a first reading. I'm available for any questions, and the applicant is also available as well. Thank you.
Questions from the planning commissioners before we hear from the applicant? Commissioner Garvey. You're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Roof. One question, is the building currently occupied?
It's not. So yeah, it's been vacant for a while.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no further questions at this time, let's hear from the applicant.
And I believe that's Chris Santana. You should be able to speak
Yes,
now.
I did see that it invited me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Welcome.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Andrea, for providing such a great presentation summation. I wasn't sure if I was going to have to do it, so greatly appreciated. And I think she did a great job in summarizing, you know, this is from an outsider's perspective. You drive up, you see the Home Depot and the Lucky's, the dollar store, and it's, you know, you see the retail and industrial as well, industrial in Britain there, and it just appears to be a traditional commercial retail zoning. It's logical for the area. And so just having some of those logical uses available to come to this building to provide the greatest value to the community, a stable business who is here to service the community and be viable. Obviously, viability was an issue with the last tenant. And anyway, we appreciate the consideration. I know there was a specific comment with concern to office uses. The reason why that one, we asked to include that, you know, again, going to a traditional commercial retail center, it's pretty typical to see something like a Stanton Optical or dental services, professional services, whether it's tax returns, whether actually I have a full list, but it's not in front of me right now. There are various medical type uses. that might be relevant here, that we feel might be a good fit at this location. So we didn't want to just outright ask for those uses to be allowed. However, to have a conversation when those opportunities present themselves.
And through the chair, just to point out on packet page 123 is the start of the applicant's list of possible tenants, which also at the bottom of page 124 talk about the office uses that Chris was just mentioning. So I just wanted to point those out. Sure, no problem.
Did you have any questions for me? I didn't have anything else specifically to address. As I stated, Andrea did a great job in covering the contents that we had discussed previously.
Yes, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant before we open for public comment?
Oh, and I should let you know my role as well. I'm sorry, in the event it's not clear, I'm the leasing agent.
Thank you for that,
Chris. How long has the building been vacant now?
Chris, you're on mute, but maybe you know the answer to that?
I believe we're going on close to a year since the dog club has, not quite a year, since the dog club has been out of business. They're technically on their lease. Actually, Tom's texting me right now. Hold on one second. Since June. And
well, I don't have a dog now, but I love dogs, and I'm wondering, is there any chance that another pet shop could go in?
Great question. So we actually are in lease negotiations with both Banfield Veterinary Hospital, who's looking to take 3,500 square feet. And the other remaining square footage would be taken by Round Table Pizza, is what we're looking to do, obviously conditioned upon the decisions that are made today. So absolutely. However, a dog swim club was not the most viable business.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Iacopone, you have a question for the applicant?
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, Chris, and thank you for joining for some questions here. You probably have really gotten to the heart of it, but I was more curious about, there's a pretty rich list of potential prospects, and I was just trying to get a sense have you had inbound interest from all of this group or some of this group, or what's the demand, so to speak?
Sure, the demand has been, we've had plenty of interest from restaurants, and some of them that would not even be viable regardless of what the city decides, and the reasoning for that. For example, Black Bear Diner is very interested in going here. However, they need the entire 5,300 square feet. We also have Home Depot restrictions, which further complicate our pool of potential tenants. And Home Depot will not allow a restaurant over 4,000 square feet. So there have been plenty of restaurants that are interested in that under 2,000 square foot range. The primary tenant that's been interested in the larger footprint, the 3,500 square foot, we really have been focused on Banfield, the vet hospital. Other than that, we've had interest from regional type tenants as well, like yoga studios and martial arts and such. Primarily those businesses, the rents have been out of their range. And we do need to get approvals from Home Depot for any fitness uses as well, because those are also prohibited.
Thank you. And maybe if I could, the follow-up that I had was, could you just describe, just educate me anyway, about the importance of being able to subdivide the space?
Sure. Retail tenants, any tenant, at 5,300 square feet is very specific. As you know, many tenants today are taking smaller footprints. It's a very specific size that's only utilized by a small handful of types of tenants. Being limited to that square footage, our list of potential tenants is substantially smaller, we eliminate the possibility of anybody who takes less than 5,300 square feet. I don't know. I feel like I might be jumping around on the question. Did I?
No, that was great. Maybe so you've clarified that 5,300 is a difficult number because it takes a special tenant, and I guess that was
a very specialized list. Exactly, it's a very specialized list versus when we can kind of cut it up. We can be more specific based upon what the market is demanding, and really select the tenants that are going to best serve the businesses that will best serve the community. Everybody wants a viable business who's going to move in and stay here and serve the community. None of us want to see another business come in here, open up for 2 years and shut down. It's not good for anybody.
Thank you.
And I have a question. Is the Banfield Hospital potential tenant considered a retail one or an office use?
They have a smaller retail type component to them, but they are primarily services. And there was something, and it was something running concurrently. Andrea might be able to speak to it a little bit better.
If I could jump in, because it is a pretty unique situation. So as I mentioned, the original 2005 ordinance and use permit were specific to Pet Food Express. And so subsequent to that, we have been able to, as staff, approve really only pet retail and services that can be considered a minor change under the zoning code in terms of uses. So Banfield specifically, because they have retail and because their operating characteristics are more in line with the retail/service use, meaning they don't have a 24-hour pet hospital. They're not doing grooming, which is prohibited by the original use permit. They're really acting more kind of in concert with the surrounding retail uses. That was able to be approved at staff level by the director. The issue, though, came into play was that the space was just too big. So we were operating sort of under both of these things. So Banfield itself is allowed because it's a pet service/retail, but it's pretty unique, and we've had issues over the years, I think, trying to find uses that fit under that. As you can see, we've had the dog pool club and the pet food store as well. So they are permitted, but they will not be able to do any work physically unless this ordinance is approved, because they need to divide the space, and that's not something that staff can approve. It needs to be changed as part of the ordinance. I don't know if that answered the question.
That clarifies it very well. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there additional clarifying questions from the commissioners before we open for public comment? Hearing no further questions, let's see if there's public comment. If you'd like to make a public comment on agenda item 6B, 1129 Old County Road, now is the time to speak. You may join the Zoom meeting or call the phone number and raise your hand on the screen or press *9. And Sarah, is there anyone in the waiting room for public comment?
Not at this time.
Okay, if there is no public comment, then I would entertain a motion to close the public comment period.
I'll move that we close the public comment period.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to roll call, please.
Commissioner Garvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Iacopone?
Yes.
Commissioner Bradley?
Yes.
And Chair Roof?
Yes. Well, now it's our discussion period. Thoughts from the planning commissioners? Commissioner Garvey, would you like to start?
Thank you, Chair Roof. I'll jump in and start. I don't know the reasoning behind making this a singular use with pet retail, but I can sympathize with the leasing agent that it's difficult to find. It may be difficult to find a tenant if it's just one single use. I am supportive of splitting the space up and allowing multiple smaller tenants. I think that's a good idea. I agree with Chris when she said that people are looking for smaller footprints these days, and 5,300 square feet sounds like a lot of square feet. I read through the list of what was a possibility there, and I think that all of those uses would complement what's happening in our downtown core. As far as allowing offices, I'm on the fence with this, and I'm curious as to what my colleagues will say. On the one hand, I support getting a tenant in there, and expanding the list increases the number of applicants that you might get. On the other hand, there's a very different revenue profile for retail versus offices, and this is intended as a retail space. And when I drive into that shopping plaza, it's all retail, so it would be consistent with everything that's happening in the shopping center to keep the uses retail. So I don't know how to come down on that one, and I'm very interested in hearing what my colleagues have to say about the office aspect of this. Thank you.
Well, I'll jump in to say that I certainly would support the division and the additional commercial uses, and the office use question is indeed an interesting one. And I wonder if I could ask staff to clarify, how often does the situation come up where a retail zoned space wants to have an office use? And is that something do we have examples of that happening in the past?
I would say probably the most recent example I can think of is the Transit Village, and where some offices gone in there, some real estate offices, and that's a little bit different of a profile, right? Because it's not necessarily in a commercial shopping center. I think for us, the concern really focuses on, one, what's the most complementary use and active use at the site. So some of the office uses mentioned, like a tax service, maybe that is getting more of the public in and out, but the way our code and uses are divided, we don't have any control over the type of office. So it could just as easily be a startup business that's using, needs office space, and it's not serving the public necessarily. And then I would say that the kind of second concern is that even if a use permit is required for office, the findings to meet that are pretty, I don't want to say straightforward, but I don't know that there would be, I don't know that the economic considerations would line up 100% with the findings. So it might be more difficult at that time to say no to an office use that's been presented at the time. So I think we don't really know how it would shake out. We've seen a lot of office uses go in the downtown, especially like real estate offices that have taken up what we would consider, retail space, but that we might want to keep retail. So I know there's a concern about, kind of losing the space, but I don't know that I have any specific examples other than, downtown, some walk-in services being utilized. And I think that's really the only thing I can think of. Lisa, can you think of any other ones that have come up?
No, I think you described kind of the general nature of what we've seen, and in certain zoning districts, as Andrea mentioned, we're really looking for a more active retail space. So that's an example where that zoning district specifically limits ground floor office on the ground floor.
Okay, that helps. That additional information helps me quite a bit. Other comments from commissioners?
I don't have any specific. I agree with what's said by fellow commissioner.
Yeah. I guess my tendency on the office space use is that we have the zoning code distinguishing those two uses, and this is one, and in this location, it's designated as commercial. And so without a stronger imperative why it should become office than what I've seen, I wouldn't be supportive of making sort of an exception for that. And I do note that the potential tenants that are lined up, would be able to go in. And so my inclination would be not to add on the office use, but to approve, to recommend the division, the divisibility and the commercial use.
Maybe for me, a question first for either Lisa or Andrea. So let's, if the commission supports staff recommendation and I'll say for now, elects to not support the office addition, but the other two elements are fine. That's like not permanent, right? The applicant could come back in a couple of years and make the case as to why there's a higher and better use for the city by proposing office, right?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, even if the commission did not want to include it, the applicant could also bring it up at the city council first reading and ask for it from council as well. So they still have the opportunity to request it. But the commission's recommendation in either way would be, shared with the commission or the city council, obviously. But yes, either way, they could come back later or bring it up again when it goes to city council.
Okay, thanks, Andrea. Sure. I think, like my fellow commissioners, the idea of being able to subdivide makes complete sense. So full support there. The list of proposed businesses that would be approved, absolutely support that. It seems, from a degree of freedom of one to many seems a much better way to position this parcel within the larger retail area as, better for the citizens of our fine community. And my thinking was captured really by, I think, Andrea's statement, where this area is designed to be retail and serve a retail customer base. That seems good for me for right now. So I would say I would not support office at this time because I think there would be a lot of other great opportunities for both the applicant and our community.
Thank you. Any additional comments from commissioners? Commissioner Garvey.
Thank you, Chair Roof. I appreciate all of the reasonings laid out by my colleagues, and I would concur. It's an active retail space. I'd like to keep it an active retail space. And at this point, I'm going to concur and not support the exception or the addition for offices. Thank you.
Okay, well, can we have the recommendation on the screen, please? I would entertain a motion.
All right, I move that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution recommending the City Council adopt an ordinance amending Ordinance 1363.
To a second.
I have a motion and a second. A roll call, please.
Commissioner Garvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Iacopone?
Yes.
Commissioner Bradley?
Yes.
And Chair Roof?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Moving along, item 7, reports, correspondence, and general information. Starting with A, report on recent city council actions.
Hey, sorry, I've been in a city council meeting. Yeah.
Oh, I'll go. I think I heard somebody in the background, so I think in our staff. Thank you, Chair Roof. I just wanted to report, maybe some of you have heard by now that on December 13th, we have a new mayor. Sarah McDowell, our council member Sarah McDowell, was appointed as mayor for the incoming year for 2022. So I wanted to congratulate her and share that with the commission. And aside from that, no additional recent city council actions from now until 2022. During the second week of January 2022, the council will be on break.
Okay, going to be Planning Commission comments or reports. Commissioner Iacoponi.
Thank you, Chair Roof. In this week's notification that our packets were ready, I picked up a note by Lori Cudworth saying that she was retiring from service with the city. And so I'll take that at face value. And I just wanted to say for the maybe 4 years now, 3.5 years, thank you for support with all of the materials that we use and getting our packets ready. Wish you well in retirement and I hope you have a lot of fun. And then also a welcome to Nicole Rios, who I understand we'll be working with going forward.
Thank you. I'd like to echo those comments.
Yes.
Commissioner Bradley. And Commissioner Bradley, did you have a comment there?
Just that I want to express my appreciation for all the hard work Lori has done in support of the Planning Commission and the staff. I told her that personally, and I could go on the record.
Okay, moving to item number C. If there are no further, actually I should make sure, are there any further Planning Commission comments or reports? Okay, now moving to item C, correspondence.
Thank you, Chair Roof. I did want to mention that I think it was within the past week that I sent an email to the Planning Commission with the 2022 calendar year meeting schedule. And in that meeting schedule, I did mention that the year will sort of kick off with a special meeting on January the 12th, which is a Wednesday. And that'll be a special meeting to hold the scoping meeting for the Focus General Plan Update Project, which consists of the housing element, land use and safety elements, and an accompanying zoning update. So I just wanted to make sure that the commission was aware of that and noted that that is in your email inbox if you haven't yet all received it. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is that just for the record, earlier today, staff did send a public comment to the commission. That was in regards to agenda item 6A 104 Sunnydale. And I think you all noted that during the presentation, but just to put that on the record. And no further correspondence.
Get a clarification on that scoping meeting. I think that both the Planning Commission and the City Council encouraged us to take a holistic view of the housing issue as well as the Innovation District planning. Is that going to kind of fall under the how's that going to fit with the scoping going forward?
Well, I think the way that we would deal with that, it is an implementation item out of the Eastside Innovation District Vision Plan. So that is something that we would look at as we consider the full project description for the environmental impact report for the housing element, safety element, and land use element updates. So that's something that staff is looking at, and we'll be working with our consultants to consider that as one of the scenarios, perhaps in the EIR. That will be is still being discussed, but that's something that we would bring up during the EIR scoping meeting as we present that project description to the Planning Commission. And again, this is a reminder, the purpose of the EIR scoping meeting is for the Commission and the public to attend and make verbal comments and comments in writing about what they feel is important and should be evaluated within the confines of the EIR itself. So, so that is the purpose of that meeting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's important because what's in scope or out of scope really makes a difference as to how things are discussed going forward. Okay.
Okay.
So our next meeting will be the 13th of January, and that'll be our only meeting in January.
Okay, so I'll move on to item number D. So just so we can get an update on what's happening next. So tonight is our last meeting of 2021. Congratulations, we made it through a year. And our first meeting of 2022 is actually canceled. So no meeting on Monday, January 3rd, canceled.
Right.
The first meeting of 2022 will actually be on a Wednesday. That's January 12th. This is a special meeting for the EIR scoping meeting for the Focus General Plan Update Project. So that's a meeting that will start at 6. We'll send out the information. We'll send out a public notice. There will be a link to that meeting, similar to the Planning Commission's regular meetings, except it will be on a Wednesday and except that it will start at 6 p.m. And then for the first regular meeting of the Planning Commission in 2022 will actually be on Tuesday. So we're kind of mixing it up a little bit, but it just happens to be of the holiday. The second Monday of the month would actually fall on a holiday. So our first meeting, regular meeting, will be January the 18th, which is on a Tuesday. And we will be having a study session on a new state law that was recently passed. Some of you may have heard or referred to it as Senate Bill 9, SB 9. And this has to do with single family lot splits and provisions for 2-unit development. So staff has been working on that, and we will be coming forward in a study session context with the Planning Commission on January the 18th. And then we also will have another EIR scoping meeting, but this will be for a project, a development project at 501 Industrial, which is a proposed new hotel right next to the Residence Inn right there on Industrial and Holly. So as of right now, we have 2 items that are scheduled for January 18th, again, which is on a Tuesday. Regular meeting so starts at 7. And then the first meeting in February would be on February the 7th. So that's sort of an update on our calendar going forward. Again, check your inbox. And if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to me. But we won't see you. We won't plan on seeing you until Wednesday, January the 12th at 6 p.m. And we will send out email reminders for the commission on that. And then I don't have any reports or updates of current projects. I think we can probably do an update on some of our long-range planning projects at the outset of the new year to kind of take a look ahead and see how we're progressing on those and what's anticipated for this upcoming calendar year. And aside from that, I just would like to personally wish everyone a very happy holiday season and best wishes for the upcoming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Great working with you. I think we have a really fine planning commission, and I know we have a great staff.
Thank you, Commissioner Bradley. Well, happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays.
Look
Happy
forward to
holidays,
working.
everyone.
Staff and fellow commissioners have a great restful season and an even better 2022.
See you all next year.
All right.
See you next year. Thank you, and we can adjourn.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
All right.